to the Unleash Success podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, Corey Corpodian.
Welcome back to the Unleash Success Show. This is your host, Corey Corpodian. Today we have an incredible guest, Alexa Carlin, on with us. She is an entrepreneur, speaker, and an incredible human being. At the age of 17, she started designing jewelry for an LA-based fashion company and even donated some of the proceeds to building homes in Africa. She's very passionate about making a difference in other people's lives through entrepreneurial endeavors, and this led her to find an inspirational blog called Hello Perfect. And in 2011, she did that with the mission to help promote self-love in girls and women. This eventually led her to create Empower Expo in 2016, which after 3 events has grown to over 3,000 attendees each time and is one of the largest events for female entrepreneurs on the East Coast. The events are held in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Washington, D.C. She's created this platform for women entrepreneurs to gain support, find funding, and connect with like-minded individuals. She is also the creator of bapublicspeaker.com, which helps entrepreneurs grow their business through public speaking. Recently named one of the most powerful women in Fort Lauderdale, she has dedicated her life to doing one thing: inspiring people to dream big and believe in themselves. Who better to help us unleash success in our lives than Miss Alexa Carlin? Alexa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for that amazing intro.
Absolutely. You've done a lot of amazing things so far in your life. I wanted to ask you, where did this all begin? Where did this motivation to be so successful and jump into the entrepreneur realm start for you?
It really started in high school when I learned more about leadership. I was such a shy girl growing up. I was so shy in middle school to even raise my hand in class. And now I'm a public speaker. But it was through venturing out and trying to be elected to be part of student government. And freshman year, I was elected as vice president of my freshman class. And that, introduced me to this world of leadership. I had a 5th period class where student leaders would run the class, and then we would, put together the homecomings, the pep rallies, the different fundraisers. And it was just this whole new world. And that's where I saw my first motivational speaker at a districts conference, and he blew me away. And since that moment, I really just, wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I've always said, if I could just make a difference in one person's life every single day, I did my job. I lived my life purposefully. And through that, I kept on challenging myself, where I ended up becoming the first person to be the student body president as a junior in high school, and then was reelected for my senior year. And that moment, I remember I was running against 2 seniors. And that moment, I was like, if I can accomplish this, what else can I accomplish? And it really just set off this fire in me. And that experience really led me to my first entrepreneurship endeavor, where I wanted to design jewelry to help raise funds for this company called Omni Peace. And I first wanted to do it through student government as student body president. And then basically it took a year to develop the jewelry, find a factory in Taiwan, get samples, do the contracts, and all of that. Learning as I go. I was only 17.
Wow.
And right before graduation, the bracelets came out. So it became my own side business. And I was the sole licensee to design jewelry using the Omni Peace logo. And I started selling them word of mouth. And then I went to college at a huge campus at University of Florida. And I didn't know anyone. So word of mouth marketing was no longer a solution to sell all of this inventory. And that's when I taught myself how to design my first website, which was on iWeb, the free software that comes with a Mac. And I started selling my jewelry through this website. Didn't really dive too much into social media. Facebook was just starting to get popular. But I was like, well, not a lot of people are coming to my website. What if I put my bracelets on the OmniPeace website? Not realizing that's called drop shipping. And they said, all right, we'll put your bracelets. I'm donating money to their cause. And that's when the sales started to flow in. I started getting sales from all over the world. My contract, which was my territory, was just the US, expanded to the entire world because I was getting orders from Australia, China, Japan, like all over.
Wow.
And that was just so invigorating, this whole process. And one thing led to the other, where I just have been an entrepreneur since.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. I didn't realize that's how you actually started getting into designing jewelry in the first place. It's funny. I was really shy in high school as well, and I dabbled in student government. And the first thing I'd wanted to do was actually be treasurer. I was like, I'm good at math. I'll do the treasury stuff, and that's it. It ended up being great for me socially because I finally kind of grew out of my shell and really developed into who I am today. But very interesting how that was your first step as well. So you get this incredible passion and you're growing a business, which is awesome. I mean, at 17, 18 years old in college, most people are so worried about just getting straight A's, not also growing a worldwide business. I think that's really cool. What kept you going? Where did you find the inspiration to want to do more with this business?
That's a good question. It's been this innate fire inside of me. It's where the passion is so invigorated inside of you that it keeps you up at night and it wakes you up in the morning. And it's something that is hard to explain if people don't know what their passion is yet. And I talk to a lot of people saying, like, how do I find my passion? And it's really the thing that makes you happy. It's what can you not live without? And I've seen through different health obstacles as well, that happiness is the direct solution to every problem I've ever had. If I can be happy, then I'm healthier, I'm more successful, I bring more good things into my life, I manifest more. And so what makes me happiest is accomplishing things I'm so passionate about. And so that's always been the drive. It's just been internal to really make this difference through my different business ventures.
And along the journey, did you have anybody supporting you, a mentor, a family member?
Oh, definitely. So my dad's an entrepreneur. So I guess that's where I got the bug from. My mom has always been one to instill confidence in me. And I've really taken that to heart. And I've gone through self-doubt. And like I said, I was so shy growing up, but really understanding the power of confidence when it comes to not only your personal happiness, but your success has been so powerful in helping me become successful in what I pursue. And it was a long time where I was like faking how to be confident. I would always be so intimidated by the confident people in the room. And so I was like, hey, I don't want to feel intimidated anymore, because then I won't speak up. I'll be in that networking area and I'll just be like standing in the circle, pretending to be part of the conversation. So I kind of did, have you seen that movie Big Daddy?
Oh, yeah.
With Adam Sandler? Yeah. So, when the little boy's nervous, he gives him the glasses and then he's invisible and all of a sudden he's confident again. So I always say, I put my confidence glasses on, pretend I'm the most confident person in the room, and it really does work. You trick your mind into believing this, and sooner or later, you don't have to pretend anymore. And so my mom has been a huge help with that. And then I've gotten mentors along the way through different internships that I went out and did in New York City.
Wow, that's super cool. I love the confidence glasses. I talk a lot about just kind of like creating an anchor or a trigger, something that, primes your body and your mind to be, confident is one of them. For me, with public speaking, I do this thing where basically I kind of recite a few things into my head and I stand up really tall and I feel what it's going to be like afterwards. I envision what the feeling of being successful afterwards is. And I bring that to where I am in my life right now, which is usually right before when I'm very nervous, to kind of help me overcome that and use the adrenaline to get better and as energy into the public speaking event. But the confidence is a big thing, especially you empower other women with your Women Empower Expo. And with that, there's a lot of women, especially, today's world, right? Me Too, a lot of women who have struggled in the past to speak up, or, maybe it's nothing like that with Me Too movement, but even just corporate America where, the man has kind of always been the head roles and there's a lot less women CEOs. What do you tell someone who's a woman who is struggling to speak up, lacks that confidence? They try this little trick. What else do you tell yourself, or what else can they do to build their confidence?
That's a good question. So, yeah, with women, there's so much thrown at us that we have to look a certain way. We have to behave a certain way. If we are just being a leader, we're considered bossy or whatever it may be. And it's a lot of different things that we have to balance and juggle. And if we just try to remove all of that and really step into our authentic selves, I always say we'll be successful. And I think we're just trying so hard to either fit into society or break the mold of society versus just being who we are. Just that plain and simple. And so with the Time's Up movement, the Me Too movement, I stand behind all of those. Obviously, I'm a big advocate. But for me, what I hope to lead with is supporting these women who are brave enough to speak up and brave enough to put themselves out there. And for me, I hope to be that next step on what do we do now? Me Too, Time's Up, now what? And so that's where Women Empower Expo comes in. We're empowering women with the community and the knowledge to now take action on the things that you want most, whether that be change in the workplace or, starting your own blog, whatever it is that will help empower you. Because I always believe, in order to empower others, you must first empower yourself. And that's what our whole movement's about. It's really bringing this community together. We attract so many diverse women from different industries, different backgrounds. And that really is what will create that big impact and positive change.
How do you go about empowering yourself first and foremost?
Good question. How do I empower myself? So I feed myself with so much positivity, I watch YouTube motivational videos on my television instead of Netflix. I still have Netflix, I'm still a human, but
of course.
I really feed myself so much positivity. I read every morning after I work out. I spend time. It's not so much where I have to sit and meditate, although I work to try to do that 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. But even just brushing your teeth or taking a shower, I really try to tune into all the sounds, and that clears my head of all the things I have to do. Because if I don't do that, all I'm thinking about is either things that I want to do or things on my to-do list. So clearing my head to allow that peace of mind to come in really empowers me when it is time to act on my to-do list or the things that I want to create. Other things, so reading YouTube videos, watching other speakers, attending events, and surrounding yourself with people that inspire you as well. That really all empowers me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. And it's funny, I don't actually meditate in the traditional sense, like you think of a monk or something and just sitting there for an hour in silence. That would probably drive me crazy. But I often say that working out is my meditation, where 30 minutes can fly by because I'm doing the action and I'm not thinking about all the stuff that's going on in my life, and it relaxes me and in a way empowers me. I feel so much better when I set myself up by working out. It almost sets me up for success in my day. Sounds like you have a little bit of a routine there too, which people can follow.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I feel I get more from, instead of meditating where I can't think of anything and just focus on my breath, I get more from visualizing everything I want. And I kind of picture this tunnel of light energy of either it's gold or white, sometimes green, if I'm thinking about money. And it's this bright, beautiful light. And it's flowing from the crown of my head to the rest of my body. And I just picture all these different things that I want in my life. And that empowers me so much. So I choose to do that with my extra 5 minutes versus just sitting in silence. And that's a form of meditation for me.
Yeah, the visualization is so strong. I've used visualization in literally everything I do in life, from sports as a kid to public speaking to even if I want a business deal to go through and it hasn't yet, I visualize that it's going to happen. and I've got a lot of successes. Is there anything in particular where you were struggling with that use visualization as a tool and were able to accomplish that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I could go back to how visualization has really manifested so much in my life. But one example, and by the way, I have this Post-it note right here that says think, feel, do. So this is exactly what we're talking about. Like, you have to think it, you have to feel it, and then you have to act on it. You can't just like sit and think and be like, all right, everything's coming into my life.
Absolutely. Action is the key to success. I totally agree.
Yeah. So for example, as a speaker, I really wanted to get into corporate speaking. And it's hard to move from speaking to small organizations or conferences and colleges and into like that corporate world, especially when I don't come from the corporate world. So I really wanted to, figure out how to get my first corporate gig. And I just kind of visualized the feeling that I had afterwards. I didn't know what the company was going to be. I didn't know how I was going to get it, but I knew it was coming, and I knew that I already landed it, and that it was going to be my biggest talk regarding how much money I was getting paid and what type of company it was going to be. And so I just visualized this for a while, and I didn't so much I wasn't stuck to it. Like, this wasn't the only thing that I was riding on for success. It was just something that I knew I wanted, and I just felt like it was already there and visualized that success. And it came at like the craziest random time, where a person I met in my first internship in New York City when I was 19 years old. I was interning there the summer going into junior year of college. I was working for the small PR firm who happened to be doing work with the InStyle Handbag Awards. And there was this woman who was an assistant to the person running that event. We connected, we stayed close. She's one of my mentors. And she lives in New York City doing a different thing. So we kind of just follow each other on social media. And it wasn't like I talked to her every week or month or anything like that as a mentor. But I knew she supported me, and I supported her in her entrepreneurial endeavors. So now, cutting to the story, all of a sudden she emails me after I haven't heard from her in about maybe a year, that she's now working for Taco Bell's annual alumni summit, where they bring all their winners for their passion passion grant that they gave. So they give like $1 million away to kids that are following their passion. You don't have to have straight A's, and you don't have to it's not a sports scholarship. So it's really focused on like if you're passionate about culinary or film, or it's totally up my alley. So she was working with them to plan the event, and they hired me as the keynote speaker.
Wow.
So that happened. That happened last year, 2017. And so I was 26 when it happened, and I met her when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
So you can see like that's why I always say, and this is kind of jumping into a different subject, but I always say that like nothing that you are doing is a lost cause. It doesn't matter if it worked out, doesn't matter if it failed, because all the puzzle pieces, sooner or later, they connect. You may not see it right away. It may take a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, but you'll look back and be like, because that didn't work out, this did, or I met this person while working on that project that led me to this. So it's crazy, like going back and really seeing how it all fits into it. But that visualization really helped, I believe.
That's incredible. And it is funny because sometimes people, they always think about short-term gratification, and I'm visualizing, I want it now. And it doesn't happen for 3 weeks or even 3 months or even 3 years. And It might be 7 years later. For me, I know lots of things that I've done have been kind of in the pot cooking for years before I ever come and they're ready to, I'm ready to feast. So stuff that I'm working on right now too still takes time. And that's one of the big lessons I've learned too, is patience and being patient. Keep pushing, keep working. You don't have to give up. You just have to be flexible. It might not happen right away. Speaking about obstacles and failure, I know you've had some pretty intense obstacles in your life up to date. Can you share with us some of those and how you overcame them?
Yes, I've had a lot of obstacles. So my biggest obstacle has been with my health. And I'll just share the story briefly. Senior year at the University of Florida, I was running my blog, Hello Perfect, at the time, and I was months away from graduation. I was graduating in May, and in January 26th of 2013, I got really sick all of a sudden, and I was rushed to the emergency room, induced into a medical coma as my body was going into septic shock. And I was given a 1% chance of living. The doctors told my mom, call your family. She has 24 hours. And that's also this experience I share while I speak based on the different events I speak at. But I really go in depth more of like what I learned through that process of the power of the mind, of not giving up on yourself. And I still remember everything that I experienced while I was in the coma, while I was out of the coma in the ICU and couldn't move, breathe, or speak on my own for 10 days.
Wow.
But I had my mind, and it was a life-changing experience. And I'm so grateful that I'm here today. But that brought on a number of health obstacles. And 6 months down the road, I graduated college on time, moved to New York City to pursue my dream of working in fashion. And I started getting sick again because I had so much antibiotics pumping into my body for a very long period of time that destroyed my entire system. And so 6 months later, I was really sick and I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And that has been the hardest struggle because it's long-term, it's chronic. I live with it every single day. You don't know if you're going to wake up feeling well or you're not, or today's going to be a bad day. And sometimes I have to cancel all my meetings, or I have to cancel my interviews, or I'm traveling for a speaking gig and then I'm sick, and it's very, very difficult. It's always on my mind. So that has been so hard because when you're in physical pain, it's very hard to shift your mindset to anything else because that physical pain reminds you of it. It's not something that you're just sad about the past and maybe you can work to focus on something better. It's like right there in your face. So that has been the biggest obstacle, but I've really learned how to turn it into my biggest opportunity to share vulnerably about my experiences and authentically, and to show people like, hey, I don't have it all together. My life's not perfect, but I'm still going after what I love. I'm still working hard to achieve my dreams, and I'm still going through these obstacles because it's one thing. What I've noticed is most experts, and I don't consider myself an expert or anything like that, but most people that share advice, put it that way, or influential in their industry, 90% of them went through something difficult and now they talk about it and they share their experience. That's really how they discovered and created their business. They went through a hard time and then they found the solution. Or same thing with products, right? You love skateboarding and then you couldn't find a good skateboard, so you developed your own. There's always some type of obstacle and then the solution. And that's what makes for a great entrepreneur and a great business. But what I've noticed is most of these stories and most of these businesses, their obstacle is in the past. Mm-hmm. They already accomplished it and it's over. And now they're living their life. Of course, other things come into play, but it's the past that they're talking about. And so it's been a very long journey and very difficult to share something that is part of me now. My near-death experience, that's in the past. It's easy to share, but my autoimmune...
what was the original, was it the autoimmune disease that you didn't even know you had? What caused you to go into septic shock?
So that's a good question. They never found out the cause, where the bacteria came from.
Really?
It could have been from the flu, because I got the flu shot the week before and then I had symptoms of the flu. But then also when I went to the emergency room, they were giving me tons of fluids because I was severely dehydrated. So then I went into, I had severe pneumonia, which also can cause shock. So there's a lot of different things, and they were testing all these different bacteria, my mom told me, but obviously they were just focused on saving my life. So it was,
they did a good job.
It's very scary. Yeah. So grateful. Shands Hospital. Shout out to all the nurses.
So you said you kind of remember what was going on there. I understand you're living with this now, but when you were going through the toughest part of it, what did you say to yourself to keep going?
So that's a good question. The toughest thing was stopping asking myself why. Why did this happen to me? I was 21 years old. I mean, I had my entire life in front of me. I still have my entire life in front of me, but I had so much opportunity. You don't think anything bad can happen to you when you're that young. And especially when I was such a big dreamer. It's not like I, had this near-death experience and then I decided like, oh, I want to make a difference. I've been doing this since I'm in high school. I've always had that. So it felt like all my dreams were taken from me when I got sick. And I kept on asking myself, why did this happen to me? Why this happened to me? But then I was in this never ending battle of fighting with the past. And when we can choose to stop focusing on the things we can't control, like our past, and accept that it happened, but not let it define you and focus on things you can control, that's when you can transform your life. So I stopped asking myself why this happened to me and started asking myself why this happened for me. And with that shift of just changing 2 to 4, I started focusing on the future and trying to find how I could turn this big obstacle into a big opportunity.
Yeah. Wow. I applaud you for doing that. I know that in tough times, it's extremely difficult to help shift your focus on why this happens and what is the opportunity. And I'm just curious though, too, because like you said, a lot of people get over it, right? They see the opportunity, they see, the light at the end of the tunnel, but you deal with this on a daily basis. What do you do when you wake up and it's not a good day?
I allow myself to have a bad day. When it's not a good day, and it's really easy to fall into that darkness. It is. And it was much easier a year or so ago. I'm in a much better place now because I've been healthier for a longer period of time now. So it's easier to, when I do have those bad days, they don't come as frequently. But when I have, that bad day, or I have to cancel something I was looking forward to, I just think, if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be where I am today or be the person I am today. And I always try to be grateful for this tragedy and for this disease that I live with, because it's helped me become who I am and I believe who I'm supposed to be. And with that, I've made a difference in other people's lives. And so that's what I try to focus on.
That's beautiful. I've had some trouble in my own life, different things, but I've really tried so hard to always find what's good in the situation, which sometimes, a loved one passes away. And, when I was a kid, I used to say, like, why take them away? Why take them out of our lives? What did they do? And it's more about like what good can come out of it. Even if someone, when you lose a life, I've shifted it now to really celebrating that person's life. And, it almost inspires me. To live my life even more fully, because listening to stories about how great their life was, they live 70, 90 years, and the impact that they had on others. I want that same impact. I'm curious because you've gone from, what did you say to yourself when things weren't going good? And now you focus on the impact that you've been able to have on other people because of what happened. Before you made that impact, when you were trying to start, Women Empower Expo, how did you stay focused? I talked to a lot of millennials and women too who they're not really sure what they're passionate about, so they struggle with that, and then they struggle with what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to stay focused on the opportunity? How did you, when you had this obstacle and you hadn't quite got to the end of the tunnel yet, how did you stay focused through there to keep going and know that eventually you're going to be able to impact a bunch of women?
That's a really good question. So I discovered that you don't have to see the light at the end of the tunnel to know it's there, because the light is within you all along. And that has been so empowering to me, because there was so many years that went by where I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And with a chronic illness, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. So I was like, how am I going to get there? How am I going to live the rest of my life? I was 24 years old now during this time when I got really sick again. I'm like, I'm only 24. How am I going to live the rest of my life like this? There's no way. And so I tuned into my own power and found this light within me. And I knew that if I didn't give up on myself, I will get to where I need to be. I will get to accomplish the things I want to accomplish. I'll be able to travel again. I'll be able to publicly speak again in front of an audience. And it's really having that deep faith and belief in yourself and understanding that things happen and we may not always know why they happen, but we must go on. And there's always something to be grateful for. And gratitude has been such a big thing in my life. I mean, there was a time where I was like, all right, I have nothing to be grateful for. I'm so sick. I can't do anything. I can't go out with my friends. I can't drink. There was a time where I was eating just like rice and potatoes because I couldn't digest anything. I was losing tons of weight. I was losing my hair. So there's been very hard times that, I've been through. But there still is something to be grateful for. I remember looking down at my feet and wiggling my toes. And I'm like, I'm grateful I could wiggle my toes. And that's something to be said. There is always something good in your life. And it's your job as a creative, as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as someone living in society to focus on the good, to focus on what is right in the world and choose to be someone that brings more light into the world.
That's incredible. I love it. Every part of that. And I like what you said about belief, that belief in yourself, that, you can keep going and don't give up on yourself. I realized that my parents, whether they realized they did it intentionally or not, they ended up instilling in me a belief that said, as long as I'm willing to work hard enough, I can accomplish anything. And they kind of just repeated this over and over to me again as a kid, almost like I was brainwashed. But I've realized looking back that single belief has empowered me throughout my life, going after my goals and my dreams, the same way your belief didn't let you give up and has empowered you. And I think sometimes people underestimate the power of beliefs and the power of our mind to really live an amazing life. So I was curious too about the Women Empower Expo. Ooh, rough.
Sorry, that's my dog.
That's all good. Little guy right there, big bark. So with the Women Empower Expo, how did you accomplish this? I mean, to get 2,000 or 3,000 people at an event and to be one of the most powerful women in Fort Lauderdale, how did you build that?
The way that I built the Women Empower Expo was very organic. I was speaking to a lot of different women's organizations down in South Florida where I'm based, and I just noticed this huge disconnect. I would speak to 100 women in PR, 50 women that were part of the Women's Chamber of Commerce, and so forth. And all of these women were doing amazing things, but they stayed either within their own industry or within their own membership group that they pay a monthly fee to. And I was like, all of you guys are doing great, amazing things, but none of you know each other. So I wanted to create an event that really empowered women to connect and collaborate to create that difference in their own life and in their community that they hope to. And that was kind of the onset of the inspiration. The other side of it, I always say there was like two points of inspiration that helped meld together the idea of Women Empower Expo. So that was one side of it. The other side was I built an amazing online community when I was really sick. Okay, so when I got sick in college, moved to New York City, diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, moved home to have the support of my family. And then I was getting healthy again, starting to speak publicly, share my story. And then I got really sick again because with an autoimmune, it comes and goes. And when I got really sick again, that lasted over a year. And it was so hard. I was in and out of the hospital. So I couldn't go and speak. I couldn't continue to be that speaker that I was working towards. So I got on Periscope, which just launched. the live stream of Twitter. And I started sharing my story vulnerably. I started this show called Morning Motivation with Alexa, and I did it Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that helped me get out of bed, because not only was I motivating other people, them showing up motivated me to not just lay in bed and wallow in my illness and my pain and suffering. And there were days that I didn't feel well. And I was like, how am I going to get on live and motivate people authentically, and come off real? And so I didn't. I still went on live, but I told them, this is what's happening in my life. And I don't feel well today. And I kind of just shared vulnerably what I was going through. And this amazing community emerged. The more transparent and vulnerable I was, the more people showed up live. I grew from 50 people watching to thousands of people watching me live, because people are starving for authentic leaders. And I noticed this. And so that was another thing that inspired me to create Empower Expo. I wanted to bring this online community offline, because they inspired me so much and made such a big difference in my life, that I wanted to connect with them in person and meet more people like that really empowered one another and showed up for each other and really embraced the power of authenticity.
Absolutely. What are some ways that through your expo or just through, your public speaking, that you find are the best ways to empower women?
The best way to empower women is to show other women that are doing great things. When you can see other people that are just like you or have come from a similar past, and they share their story, then you feel more empowered. Hey, if they did it, so can I. That's why all of our speakers, we have over 50 speakers at each event.
Wow.
The way that we choose our speakers are people that are ready to share their story of how they got to where they are. Not just share 3 tips on how to be happy, or here's how to create a killer LinkedIn profile. None of that. Yes, you may learn that in the session, but you'll learn it through storytelling. You'll learn it through them really sharing, how they got to where they are, the inspiration behind it. Same as this, interview. It's been more of just how do you do it, but how, where did it come from? Where's that deeper back end of that led you to get to where you are today? And when women can hear other women sharing that story, they feel more empowered that they can go and actually achieve it as well.
Absolutely. So with the workplace, this is one thing that's always kind of been interesting, is that, some women feel like they have to be something. And you said this earlier, they have to be bossy, or maybe even, wear a mask where they have to behave kind of like men. How do you help them take off that mask and still be a confident, strong woman without coming across as almost, this fake masculine woman that's just, she's doing this only to get that, but this is her real self?
Good question. The way that women can show up powerfully without losing their femininity is to not try to be like men, but just understand their worth. You have to understand that you are just as worthy to sit in that boardroom as any other man in that room. It doesn't matter about your gender. It doesn't matter about your race. It doesn't matter about your background. It doesn't matter about your sexual orientation. All that matters is the value that you bring to the table. And so if you are confident in your value, then you won't have any problem showing up as yourself. You don't have to wear suits like men. You don't have to, dress a certain way or act a certain way to fit in. And I know this changes. I know there's a big thing with the financial industry with women trying to fit in that way. But I hope that, throughout this work and my life of working to empower more women to step into those leadership roles and really change the dynamic of the workplace and just society in general, is to understand that when you are confident about the value you bring, that's just what you have to remember in every meeting you go into, in every, interview or whatever it may be. Know your worth, know your value, and just focus on that.
Great. Very well said. I feel empowered. Yes. That's fantastic. For you, you are so driven, you're so empowered, and you empower other women. Sometimes we talk about, you are the 5 people that you spend the most time with. But in a way too, I've realized that I've got mentors that I've never met before, mentors through books or through audio, and I've looked up to them and I've followed their teachings a lot, and they've really helped me in my life. And we've created this thing we call the Fantasy 5. What would be your top 5 fantasy team in your life that you feel would help empower you even more, and just kind of like where you draw motivation from?
Oh, well, the top 3 are easy. The first one, Sarah Blakely.
Oh,
She's the founder of Spanx. I am obsessed with her. She's an incredible role model and businesswoman and leader. So Sarah Blakely for sure. Mark Cuban, I've met a few times. He's super down to earth, and I'm a big fan of his and how he works. And I've just been a big Shark Tank fan since 2009.
Me too. Cuban, I watch it all the time. I love it. It's so awesome.
Yeah, never miss an episode. And then Gary Vaynerchuk.
Nice.
I just had the opportunity to meet him again, and he's amazing. And he's definitely someone that I would love to have in my inner circle. What'd you call it?
Like Fantasy 5.
Fantasy 5, yes.
5, yeah.
Definitely. So Sarah Blakely, Mark Cuban, Gary Vaynerchuk. Now the 2 others, I really, have started to look at Bethany Frankel, which is someone new to who I follow, because she's just built an incredible business, and she didn't let anything stop her. So that's someone that I would love to learn more about, and not so much that I know so much about her story like I do Sarah Blakely or Mark Cuban or Gary Vaynerchuk. So I would like to bring her into my circle, and Michelle Obama.
There you go. Nice. Yeah. True leader. Wow. All those people are awesome, and huge fan. All 5 of them. Those guys, everybody brings something different, and I know I've learned from them so much as well. So that's super cool. I was just thinking Sarah Blakely I would love to interview her for this podcast. I mean, she's just like super awesome. I've seen the inside of her office where she has this giant empowerment, like just sign that just the quotes and everything that they wrote down and for Spanx. And I was just like, wow, like what an amazing thing they do. I think they even have paternity leave she was talking about. Like they give leave for everybody. She's just changing the game of the way businesses are run in such a positive way that it's very inspiring.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list to have her speak at Women Empower Expo one day.
Yeah, cool. If she does, let me know. I'll attend for sure.
Okay.
So what are some tools that you have used, something that maybe you use every day or every week that really help you in your life?
So, all right, top tools that I use: journals. I am a huge journal buff. I write down everything. I have, this is like this is like my list agenda, but I have literally journals for everything. And as a speaker or a creative, you have to write down your ideas as they come. I know Richard Branson's a huge advocate of this, but I've been journaling since I can remember. I have so many, and they're filled with business ideas. So I use that to write down all my thoughts. And then when I'm crafting a new keynote, or I need an idea for that, I just can't, I have writer's block, I'll look into my journals. And then like I had this amazing idea 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, well, now I could bring it to life, and now I have the money to do it, Yeah. So journaling is a big tool. Never discredit the power of paper and pencil. What else? Obviously, social media. Big on Instagram is my favorite social media platform right now. Alexa Carlin. I share all my handwritten quotes. Oh, that's another thing. So another tool I use is a software where I can write my own quotes. I want to make it as authentic and original as possible. So you'll see on my Instagram that all my quotes are handwritten. That's another tool I use.
That's cool. I didn't realize that was like a software that you were using for that. I just thought it was like a font. It's like, that is cool.
Yeah, no, that's my handwriting. That's definitely my handwriting. And then I have my camera. I have it actually set up right here. It's the Canon G7X. That is what I use to vlog. So that's, it's really compact. So I travel a lot as a speaker. And so you need a camera that's not so heavy. Mm-hmm. And, what other tools? I mean, there's obviously the number one tool that I love that I got last year are the AirPods from Apple.
Really?
The earphones, yes. Everyone asks me, like, do they stay in your ear? Like, and I'm using, Beats right now, but when I'm always have these in my ears throughout the day because I can do what I'm doing while still taking business meeting calls or phone calls. So you don't have to hold your phone anymore. You don't have to be near it or anything. So it's been so amazing. So I use it mostly for phone calls. So then I never have to have my phone by me. If I'm in the middle of something like making dinner, I could still talk to my mom or, make sure I have time for everything. And also why they're so good is I've been the person where I'm walking through the airport and I have, sometimes my hair covers the AirPods so nobody sees them. So I've been that person walking through the airport talking out loud and everyone's like, what is she doing? But so you have to do that. If I'm running a business and I'm traveling as a speaker, I have a coffee in hand and my luggage in my other hand, and I'm going to my next gate in between flights, and I have a business meeting like at the same time. So I'm able to travel and do what I love as a speaker while also growing my business, whether it's talking to my project manager or my interns or whatever. So that's AirPods awesome. Have been a great tool. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. I've been reluctant to pick them up. I have some wireless headphones, but I've heard some pretty innovative things about those. When you take one out, it stops the music and stuff like that. They're very intuitive. Interesting. Great tool.
Yeah. I use it all. Like I use Beats to listen to music and like edit my videos, but I use AirPods throughout the day to take all my business meetings, like phone calls.
That's awesome. So this has been an amazing conversation, and to kind of wrap things up a little bit, I just wanted to go over two things to finish up to. Is one, I believe in the 80-20 rule. I think you've maybe heard of it. It comes from statistics, but the way I use it is 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions. The key is just knowing which actions to take. So I'm looking at you who runs a Women Empower Expo. You're very empowered. I can hear it in your voice and your passion, and I love it. What are some things that, women can do right now? Maybe even something we've already talked about, but, today, this week, that they can do to really step up their confidence, to feel empowered, to go after their dreams and goals?
The number one thing when you talk about the 80-20 rule, the thing that has brought the most business and the most success to achieving my dreams has been public speaking, hands down. Because I started the company, with little to zero startup money. I took a couple thousand out of my savings, booked a venue, and it's been going since. With hard work, we've been profitable since the first event, but it's been public speaking that has been the best marketing tool, the best strategy to help share my story, grow my business, explode my impact, bring in extra income. And hands down, that's been where I focus. And that's why, I'm creating beapublicspeaker.com, which is a 4-week program that literally dives into everything I've learned in over 4 years on how to use public speaking to grow your business. It's not about just like getting paid to speak. Most of the speaking I do may be free speaking, but there's the difference between there's a thing called platform speakers, which are like the Les Browns of the world, Tony Robbins. They're speaking a lot of times to sell something else. And you never know that they're selling. They're still providing tons of value. But I speak not only because I love it, but it also helps me grow my business. I just spoke before my last Women Empower Expo. I was asked to speak to this small luncheon of 10 people. It doesn't matter the amount of people. I always say, as long as I'm inspiring one person, I'm in. So I was talking to like 10 to 15 business leaders in South Florida at their luncheon for free. And I just did it as a way, to talk about what they asked me to share Women Empower Expo. The event was a couple weeks away. So I was like, maybe, they'll come to the event or they'll tell someone about it. After, I ended up booking a $1,000 booth just right on the spot. Someone that was sitting, eating lunch, listening to me talk about, WEX and just like my inspiration to starting it, came up to me and they gave me my credit card, or my project manager. They gave my project manager their credit card and was like, I want to book a booth right then and there. And so that's the power of speaking. I wasn't selling anything. I literally was just sharing my story, and I'm passionate about it, and people can hear that through my voice. And I think that's something that is so powerful for women, men, anybody that is really looking to grow their impact and income, is to get started. And the way that you could get started is going live, or practicing with friends, or starting to film yourself on your phone. Like, you don't need a professional camera or anything like that. But going live is such a great tool to help practice, because when you're public speaking, you're live. So then you start getting audience interaction. You might have things that distract you a little bit. People may ask you questions you have to answer on the spot. So I always say live stream is a great way to dive in, to really start publicly speaking, and then starting to pitch yourself to other events to grow your business that focus on your target market.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings up another question real quick too. It's just, as people are going to grow their business, women entrepreneurs, and they're moving forward, what are some, common mistakes that they might make along the way that actually hurts them, and how do you overcome that?
A common mistake is waiting until they have all the answers, or waiting until they feel they are ready. That's just a huge mistake. I mean, we can wait and wait and wait until we have the money, wait until we have the team, wait until we know more or have the technology, whatever it is. But you're going to be waiting for a long time, because the only way to prepare yourself is to get started and dive in. You're not going to know the challenges that come or the things you experience until you're in the weeds and doing the work. So I always say, get started right now with whatever you have, wherever you are. Just start putting out content, start talking about the things you're passionate about, start telling people your dreams. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to share your dreams out loud. I see a lot of people fear this for two reasons. One, if they fail, they think people will make fun of them or talk behind their back or whatever it is, because you said, I'm going to become a New York Times bestseller, and then you don't. And then you're like, oh man, I just told the whole world that's going to happen. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Okay. You have to say your dreams out loud if you're committed and determined to making them happen. And another reason I think people are afraid to share their dreams out loud is for fear of people stealing them or trying to copy them. And that's a fine line. It's a very fine line between talking about the things you're doing and talking about the things that you are going to do. But I always say this: nobody is you. And that means you have no competition. There could be 100 graphic designers in the room, and they can have all target female entrepreneurs, but they're all going to attract different clientele because they have a different artistic take. They have a different passion. They come from a different story and experiences. And so you have to understand that if you put your authenticity into your work, nobody can copy you. Nobody could be you. And that's a huge thing. So I always say, share your dreams out loud and get started right away.
Yeah, like that Post-it note: think, feel, do.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so when you feel, I just think about the empowerment right there and getting started. It's so motivating to me and uplifting. And I just think that most people, they don't actually start the process. They think about it too much. And you really got to take action to measure the result, because until you do that, like you said, you're not going to know what challenges lie ahead. I mean, I feel very empowered, and I know a lot of women feel empowered with you as well. It's been a great conversation. Alexa, where can we find you online?
You can find me online at Alexa Rose Carlin on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my website is alexacarlin.com, which also has links to the Women Empower Expo. For that website, it's just womenempowerexpo.com.
Fantastic. That expo is growing, every single event, a couple thousand women getting together to support each other in their entrepreneurial journey. So for anybody interested, definitely check out that website. And for you've accomplished quite a bit of success at such a young age, at 26 years old, and you're not stopping, which I love. What is your next level of success?
Next level of success is diving into my book. I started writing my book, and it's changed a lot of the intent and the mission that I have with putting it out there. So my next step towards fall time will really be focused on getting my book out there and published. And that would be my next level of success, because I've had that dream since I can remember to be a published author.
That's incredible. I didn't know you were writing a book, and I myself am writing one right now. Started over a year ago, and finally diving into it. And it's been an incredible experience. And I know that you have an incredible book coming, definitely just from this one conversation, one interview where we're just like diving deep into what you do. So I'm definitely excited about it. Thank you so much for coming on the Unleash Success show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for a great interview.
If you guys enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that we have is please go subscribe. If you'd like to leave us a 5-star rating and review, that definitely helps us get our message out there. Because each week I'm going to interview amazing people, and I want to be able to give you more and more tools and strategies that get you real results. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Corey Corpodian, or just visit the website at unleashsuccess.com. Remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way to get the results you want in life and truly live the life of your dreams. So go take some action. Subscribe to the podcast and get ready to unleash success in you.